Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sweet Life. I'm your host, TJ Sweet, and on this podcast, I'll be talking about ways that will help you reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. This week, we're going to focus on living with intention while we also reframe and reshape our mindset. So, this time of year, it's the holiday season, and there is a lot of giving. And there's a lot of, if you're lucky enough to have this, but you're also getting a lot of new things. Now, I will tell you, the topic I want to talk about today isn't just about gifts. It's about, it's not just about getting gifts. It's about getting compliments, getting love, receiving. So I kind of want to call this episode kind of the art of receiving. Okay. So really, it's kind of embracing this art of receiving by kind of unlocking the joy that we can get if we're ready for it when we receive compliments, gifts, and love. So, first, I want to kind of start talking about kind of why this topic is relevant in the first place. And I've kind of been diving deeper into this topic over the last few weeks because I have a lot of people, that in my life that I may share a compliment with. I may give them a compliment, and their first response is to deflect. And then I started to really kind of practice more self awareness and realize my sometimes lack of self awareness in moments, I diminish or devalue or deflect as well. So I wanted to kind of pour into it myself so that I could get better at receiving while I still focus on giving as much as I can. So, obviously in this world of, so much of what's kind of isolating people is this idea of self-reliance and independence, excuse me. So, we sometimes forget the importance and the impact of receiving with an open heart. Now, receiving compliments, gifts, and love is not a sign of weakness, okay? And it's not a sign of entitled thoughts or behaviors or feeling like you deserve, right? In the sense of, kind of expecting these things from other people. But it's actually kind of this beautiful sign of, in this expression of vulnerability, connection, and gratitude. So throughout this episode, I kind of want to explore the art of receiving and how it can enrich your life, your relationships, and honestly, your overall well-being, because there's so much internal work that has to be done in order to receive gifts and compliments and love in gratitude. So regardless of what age you are or whether you're male or female or it doesn't really matter where you come from, learning to receive graciously is a transformative skill that kind of opens the door to deeper joy and appreciation and even more meaningful connections. So I'm going to run through a few quick ways here that I've, again, recognized, studied, learned about, and then also implemented in my own life. So the first thing we got to do before we get better at receiving is understand why we're struggling, why we don't receive with an open heart now, why we receive with judgment towards ourselves. And so the first thing I want to talk about is cultivating self-worth. So before we can actually fully embrace this this moment of receiving, it's crucial to acknowledge our own self-worth and recognizing that there are things that people will compliment you for, and it's not because they have a motive. It's because they appreciate that about you. And when somebody gives you a gift, it's not because they felt like they needed to. It's maybe just because that's how they show you love and effort and appreciation. And maybe the love that they're showing you is really just making sure that you always know how much you matter to them. So remind yourself every once in a while, again, the 3-2-1 habit that I talk about in my book and multiple podcast episodes of writing 3 things you're grateful for, 2 things you appreciate about yourself, and then one thing, and then one I am statement. But that 2 things you appreciate about yourself is a perfect opportunity to start to cultivate some of this self-worth. And so recognizing your own qualities and strengths and the value you bring to the world, maybe just listen to the people who are complimenting you. Maybe listen to the impact you've had on other people and how you impact their daily life. And, kind of embrace this idea of self-compassion and let go of self-doubt that prevents you from maybe receiving gifts, compliments, and love wholeheartedly. And just so you know, whenever it comes to self-worth, it's a matter of the reason why we often deflect. And I'll talk a little bit about this a couple times today, but one of the main reasons why we deflect is because we don't believe it about ourselves, or it's new to us, it's unfamiliar, or we have people in our lives telling us something different. And so when somebody comes along and gives you a compliment or tells you something about yourself that is meaningful and impactful, if you've never heard it before or you've heard the opposite, it's easy to deflect because it's hard to make that switch of all of a sudden that new thing being true. So my really encouragement first is to understand your own self-worth and know that you do deserve these things. You love to give these things to other people, so let other people return them back to you. Not because you gave them to them, not because you first went and showed them effort, love, gave them compliments, or maybe even a gift, but just because that's how they want to show you how much you matter to them. So kind of stop and do a self-check and wonder, how do you respond when somebody gives you a compliment? Do you dismiss it, or do you say thank you? Now, there's this idea of staying humble while we receive compliments, and there's this sense of like comparing our love that we give and versus what we get, and this is just this whole self-worth thing, right? You deserve to be loved. You don't have to earn it. So when somebody shows you love or tells you that they love you, it's not because of an obligation. It's maybe just because they actually do. So focus on that self-worth, self-check, and then sometimes just say thank you. You don't have to deflect it. You don't have to say, no, that's not true. Or you don't have to say you're just lying, or you're just making up, or it's just your opinion. Because the people that I get to have in my life, trust me, they are a huge piece of this journey for me of accepting compliments. And I don't do well with them typically. And so I deflect them, or I say, no, 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 it's no big deal, and all these different things. And I minimize accomplishments, and I minimize kind of the impact. But I say that I want to have an impact in the world. But when people say that I'm creating that, I often kind of deflect it. And so this is, again, I'm working on this stuff too, but this is something that I've done intentionally, and I'm getting better with this, but it started with self-awareness. So then the second kind of activity / habit that I want to talk about is one that we talk about probably every episode, but there's a different way that we're going to go about it, but it's practicing gratitude. Receiving with gratitude is a powerful way to honor the giver and amplify the joy of the moment. So genuinely just be grateful that that person's in your life, that they gave you the effort, and that they gave you a gift, or they gave you a compliment, or they gave you love. Just sit in that. When you receive a compliment, express genuine appreciation and acknowledge the positive impact it has on you. As a matter of fact, let those things actually have a positive impact on you. The world is tough enough when other people are genuinely pouring back into you. Let that be something that gives you a spark and gives you energy and builds your confidence and helps you raise your chin back up and bring your shoulders back. And so when you receive gifts, focus on the thoughtfulness and the meaning behind the gesture rather than just the monetary value. Because oftentimes, when we receive gift, compliments, or love, it's really more the effort that somebody went into, or maybe it's the thoughtfulness. Maybe it's not that it was $5 or $5,000, because the people that I get to have in my life and the people I'm the most grateful for give me way more than I could ever give them. And I have no idea what anything costs, but it's their effort. They know me, and then they give gifts in a way that are meaningful because of that is the impact that I have on their life. And so I'm trying to let them know that I see their love and their appreciation, and that I when I return it back, it's not because they first expressed it, but it's because I genuinely feel the same way for them. And honestly, gratitude expands everything inside of us. Everything. It expands our capacity to receive. And then the most powerful thing that it does is it nurtures deeper and more meaningful and more intentional connections. So this time of year, when somebody gives you a gift, don't feel bad because yours cost more or less. Don't feel like you've had to do something to earn it. And just stop and think, what is your heart Why do you give gifts to people? And wouldn't you want somebody else to know that same reason for you, in the sense of, I give gifts to the people that I'm the most grateful for because I get to, not because I have to. I do small little things. I give a compliment, maybe it's a gift, maybe it's just expressing love, maybe it's giving my effort, but it's just my way of showing them that I see them and that they matter so, so much to me, and that I'm grateful for them. Now, I want to dive into this tougher topic. It's a little bit more focused on self-awareness. But the third one I want to talk about is releasing fear and self-limiting beliefs. This is where we start to do some of the work upstream on the inside. So often our ability to receive is hindered by fear, guilt, or a sense of unworthiness. So challenge these self-limiting beliefs. Doubt your doubts by recognizing that receiving is not selfish, but it's actually an act of trust and vulnerability. Allow yourself to be open to the love and kindness that other people give to you. Release the need to always be the giver. Struggled with that. I felt like everything was equal whenever I gave a little bit more, which, think about how the receiver felt. And my mom's taught me this lesson my whole life of, don't try to overgift something to show somebody how much you mean to them or how much they mean to you. Because what it does is it creates this imbalance in gifting with the other person. Because then they start to question, should they have spent more? What, all these different weird feelings kind of come in. But just gift at the level of gratitude. Gift at the level of gratitude. And really release this need to kind of always be the one up or always give the perfect gift. Because it's really your effort that means the most. Because I can tell you, throughout I'm 40 years old, and what I can remember of every Christmas is who I was with. Sure, there are a couple gifts here and there, but the gifts that mean the most to me are the ones that resonate with me. And I received a gift a couple of years ago that I will have with me for the rest of my life. Because I remember exactly who gave it to me. I remember exactly where I was. I remember everything about that moment because it was the most seen and appreciated and valued I've ever felt. But I had to open up and not feel bad and not feel like I shouldn't have received that or whatever it is. Just get rid of all those self-limiting beliefs and embrace this beauty of being on the receiving end of something that's meaningful, something that somebody else may have worked really, really hard on. Just say thank you. Tell them how much it means to you, and get rid of those self-limiting beliefs of unworthiness. Now, I want to dive into a little bit of a different topic that is less about physical items and more about compliments and love. So, when you're receiving compliments, the next thing I want to talk about is practicing active listening. So when you receive compliments of love, practice active listening by truly absorbing the words and the intentions behind them. Listen to understand, not to reply. Avoid dismissing or downplaying the compliments and allow yourself to fully receive and internalize those positive affirmations. Because what if the person that you get to have in your life that gives you compliments and shows love and expresses love to you, what if they were the most right person about you compared to all these other people who don't tell you, or maybe people who tell you something different? What if the truth is actually coming from them? Wouldn't that be something? So in moments of receiving love, be present. Just be filled with gratitude in the moment and be present. Be attentive and be responsive. This will cultivate this deeper connections and this sense of togetherness when you just listen to what somebody's telling you. And sometimes when you're giving a compliment, let that other person absorb it. Don't give a compliment and expect something back in return. I've had to learn this too, because this sense of communication really isn't just speaking. It's also making sure the other person heard it. But sometimes people who like to talk, like myself, we need to give time to the people in our lives that are hearing and feeling the love and compliments that we're giving them. So say what is on your heart, but say it because you are lucky and grateful for the chance to say it, not because you want them to say it back, and not because you're trying to prove something to them or just try to make them feel better, whatever it is. Give them space so that they can actually feel it and process it. And also then they may actually start believing some of it about themselves. And I'm lucky for the people that I'm the most grateful for. I'm lucky that I get to see them the way that I see them, and that I get to, I'm fully present. So whenever I'm with those people, there's nothing else happening around me. And I get to completely kind of pour into them by listening, hearing them. Because what this also does, by listening with an active intention, it allows me to be better for them and then show them that I was listening. And when we show people that we're listening, they're more likely and more confident and more willing to tell you more, to tell you more deep things, tell you things that they only tell people that they trust. They'll be more vulnerable with you if you listen and then do something with the things that they tell you. If somebody tells you something that's super meaningful to them, check back in on that. Or make sure that you change your behavior or give a gift in a certain way or express love in a certain way. Or sometimes it's just send a message in a certain way, because people want to be seen and heard and appreciated. And we get to do that by listening. And by active listening, it means listening so that we can do something with the things that people are trusting us enough to tell us. Now, this last point I want to make, actually, I'm sorry, I have two more points. The last lesson, the last one really about kind of all along those same lines is vulnerability. So embrace this sense of vulnerability. It's actually not weakness at all, but receiving wholeheartedly with gratitude requires vulnerability, as it involves letting others see our emotions, our desires, and our needs, and embrace vulnerability as a strength and an opportunity for growth. Be honest with yourself and communicate your appreciation and your love and your gratitude. And vulnerability is one of the most powerful things that we can give and show to other people. It creates a safe space for genuine connections to flourish. So if we're willing to be vulnerable first, other people will trust that they can be vulnerable with us. So when somebody is being vulnerable and trusting with you, practice gratitude, practice active listening, be present and connect with them. Now, the important thing about vulnerability as a whole is understanding that we have to get over some of our own self-limiting beliefs around whether or not it is something that's healthy for us to act like everything's fine all the time and hold everything back, because it's, giving the opportunity to embrace vulnerability as we receive a gift is show emotion, and there's strength in emotion. It's not a weakness. And so really thinking about, whenever I've received a couple of gifts in my life, I just become overwhelmed with emotion, and it's more out of love and gratitude than anything else. And so when you feel that, don't feel silly and don't say sorry and don't say, oh my gosh, why am I doing that? Just let it be. Let it be the rawness in the most vulnerable moment you have, because other people will then not feel so bad when you give them a gift or a compliment or show them love. That also makes them feel vulnerable. So the last one, really last one I want to talk about is about paying it forward. So receiving is not just about accepting compliments, gifts, and love. It's also about passing on the joy. As you receive, think about opportunities to reciprocate by offering compliments, acts of kindness, and love to other people. Not because they did it first, but because you're grateful for the opportunity to do that for them. And so creating this cycle of giving and receiving, you contribute a positive and an intentional and deep, meaningful connection with other people. And so as you receive, right, be thinking about how that makes you feel, what they said, but then also think about how do they best receive compliments and gifts and love. Don't assume that people receive those things the same way you do. So ask the question, how can I show you? How can I love you better this week? What kind of gift would be meaningful? Don't think about how much it would be, how much it would cost. Think about how much it would mean to them. And so really the important thing here is about let's make random acts of kindness not so random. And let's spend more time listening to each other whenever we actually receive compliments. It's not about becoming arrogant and boastful and pompous. It's about being aware that maybe there are some good things about us that other people see. Because all we think about oftentimes is what we're not. But other people see who we are. So when you create a trusting and vulnerable and meaningful relationship with somebody, you can show them all of you, and then they will also show you all of them. So learning to receive compliments and gifts and love gracefully is a transformative journey that it'll enrich your life and the lives of the people around you and the relationships that you have. And it requires self-worth and gratitude and vulnerability. And by embracing the art of receiving, we open up ourselves to deeper connections, genuine joy, and a profound sense of appreciation. So embrace the beauty of receiving with an open heart and watch as your life becomes filled with love and abundance and a renewed sense of purpose. So I hope this episode was something meaningful for you. As you come into the season of receiving and giving, think about the why and think about how grateful you are and think about people that you get to have in your life and express gratitude through your gifts. And I hope you share this podcast with other people and subscribe to this podcast. Again, it comes out every Monday on Mindset Monday. It comes out every week. And I appreciate the support and the questions and the comments that I get all the time from different outlets. And just know that to the people that I'm the most grateful for, you are my why. You are what inspires me and makes me want to do these and pour into them like I do. So thank you. And I appreciate you. And I'm grateful for you. If you have more questions about what I do, about the podcast, about the books I've written, you can go to tjsweet.net, or you can email me at tj@tjsweet.net, and me or someone on my team will reach out to you within just a few hours. We're very quick to respond to these requests because we know if you're willing to take a chance and connect with our team, that we want to express our gratitude back to you quickly. So I'll wrap up this episode like I do on every other episode, and just to remind you that you always have the power and the choice to reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Until the next episode, never stop.